So welcome back to OKR's Fast Introduction to OKRs. This is session 2, what are OKRs? We're going to go in this session just a lightweight introduction into what OKRs are, what are the components of OKRs, to give you a bit of orientation. In later sessions, in session 5 and 6, we'll do a deep dive into objectives and key results with examples. But let's just get started in this now. What are OKRs? So I've mentioned before, OKRs have a goal format. I've also mentioned at the start in the first video, there's much more than just a goal format, but this is the whole thing is structured around this way of expressing goals, and most of what we do, most of what we talk about is how to interact with these goals, how to use them, how to coach people with them and lead people with them. But let's get started by understanding the goal format. There is, as I said, an objective at the top here, and there is some key results. And now we'll go into each of these just in a little bit of detail in this session. So the objective is the sort of title for your set of key results. It's the thing that you're trying to achieve. It's intended to set direction and inspire action. Because remember, OKRs are really about communicating with people and about creating results, right? So the objective should be something that motivates and inspires people. It should be memorable. It should be the kind of thing that's relatively easy to come up in conversation at work about what you're trying to achieve. Now, ideally, this should be about customers. Now, your customers might be internal customers, they might be external customers, they might be sort of if you're B2B2C, it might be that B in the middle, it might be the C on the end, whatever it is. The objective should be something that matters to your customers. It should be something that captures your strategy and your vision, right? And it should be something that communicates well to your team. What it doesn't need to be is really, really specific, because that's the job of the key results. The objective could be something that you think you'll achieve completely this quarter. It might be something that rolls over quarter to quarter and you'll do it for six quarters or for 2 years or 1 year or something like that. It's fine. It doesn't really matter. It's really about, this is a thing we're trying to achieve and what I want you to be thinking about, focusing on, right? And the key with this is to make it matter, because what you want is for it to stick in people's minds so they think about it and they talk about it. The key results, these things down the bottom here, I've listed four. I've put 4 of them here. This diagram is just a visualization of an OKR, objective and key results. I put 4. You could have 2, you could have 5. I'd recommend not having more than 5 because it gets confusing, but usually you need at least 2 to be specific enough. The purpose of the key results is to clarify what you mean by the objective. So this is what we're trying to achieve, and this is what success looks like. We're defining success, not tasks here, but this is what success looks like. Here's how we're going to measure success. And really importantly, the key results are actually not just about measuring success, but they're about empowering people. Okay, so this is why we don't define the tasks. We want to really define what success looks like so that I can empower my team, people who are working with me, to come up with great ideas on how to get there, like engage their brains and their initiative and their creativity in how to solve these problems and how to deliver these key results. So what we're focusing on here is the business value. What's the value? Ideally, because we've had the objective about customers, these key results should be things that customers care about. They should be things that materialize the vision. But these key results should be specific and get into something that you can tell that you have achieved successfully or not at the end of the quarter. So you know whether you've achieved it or how much of it you've achieved. You don't want something that's ambiguous, that people have a little debate. Did we implement best practice or not? No, you want something that's really concrete and fact-based, so there's no debate. So that's what the key results look like. Again, we'll go into much more detail in the key results section in, I think it's session 6. When you put these together, sometimes you'll find that one key objective is not enough. Now, what's super important is to focus on the important priorities, right? If everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. So the fewer the number of objectives, the better, right? If you can get away with one objective and some key results, fantastic. That's really good because that helps keep people focused. 3 is kind of okay. It's people can handle 3. As you get to 5, it starts to get a bit fuzzy. People get a bit confused when there's 5 objectives. There's just too many things. And so what the usual recommendation these days is aim for 3, plus or minus 2 is okay. If you can get 1, you're really winning. Now, what's interesting about this is that if you have a large organization or a diverse organization, don't make the mistake of having a large and diverse set of objectives. Try and keep it even simpler. The bigger the organization, the simpler the communication. So the more focused your OKRs need to be to have an impact. You don't need to specify everything that's happening in this organization. You need to specify the important priorities. What is it that I want everyone in this organization to know and understand, right? And realize this is important. And this brings us down to this whole concept of OKRs are your key messages for this quarter. right? So when we have this objective and these key results, this is the message that I want to be repeating over and over again. The thing that I want everyone to focus on are these things. And if you're doing this for a whole company, you really want the things that matter to everyone, or as large a group as you can think about here. You don't want something that's specific to that particular group or just some people, even if it's really important. It's not what you use the company-wide communication for. You use that in a more narrow context. Think about this in terms of you're communicating to a larger group. Keep your message focused on a small number of points. Now, the one other thing that often comes up in this context is business as usual and OKRs. So what I like to think about is when you have business as usual, it's often something like operations. You use KPIs and you're monitoring things using KPIs. And I've got a little diagram up here, this, the sort of dashboard. You might have, charts and meters and things like that you're monitoring KPIs on. But the idea here is that they are really about monitoring steady state. Okay, so it's things that you're wanting to continue on doing over and over again, and you're monitoring this. Now, you might have, if something goes down below a certain level, you might have an action you need to take, but generally this is about repeatable work that you're doing that's business as usual. OKRs, however, are primarily about change, and product organizations are a classic example of an organization that's primarily focused on change. But think about this, sometimes operations teams they spend 90% of their time on business as usual, and then they have 5 to 10% of their time on some sort of change. Likewise, product teams spend 90% of their time on changes, and maybe 5 to 10%, maybe more, depends on the organization, on business as usual, and they need to do some monitoring. So what I recommend using is using the, and by the way, when you're talking about OKRs and change, there are different kinds of change. You might have just let's increase this, let's start it going up. You might have, let's have a step change. You might have, let's have a new thing that we're going to start measuring. But the point is that there's a period of time that you want to cause this change to happen, and that's where the OKR applies. Whereas with KPIs, it's kind of business as usual. So it's ongoing monitoring. You're monitoring these every week, every month, every day, right? Whatever it is. OKRs is really about this quarter, we're going to make this change. Next quarter, we're going to make that change. Okay, so think about these, but as I said, I was just getting to say the operations and product teams, different teams will have different mixes of these. So sometimes you'll have a lot of operations, business as usual, sometimes a lot of OKRs, a lot of changes that you're doing in a team, and it'll really vary across the teams. But don't feel like everything needs to be an OKR, just like not everything needs to be a KPI. Some organizations really do like to have everything as an OKR, so they write an OKR for business as usual. It's fine. Think about the thing that you wanted to be able to communicate and what you want people to focus on. But one thing I want you to remember is not to overdo it. You still can't do everything. We have objectives and key results. So I recommend having a small number of objectives, like 5 or 3 or 1 objective with a few key results for each one, because that's a simple message people can understand. And with key performance indicators, KPIs, the key here is that it's key. You need to have just the 10, 20, 15, 5 that really matter to your organization that you're spending time and energy focusing on. If you have a dashboard of 300 things, people's attention is all over the place and they don't know what's important. So try and have this the focus on the things that are really important, and that focus really means saying no to other things. It means some other things are happening, we're saying no to that unless we decide that is important, in which case we bring that in, right? But we're not sort of spending our attention spread across everything. Okay, so that's the critical thing with OKRs. I hope that's been a useful thing to think about what OKRs are, what they look like, and how they're used in an organization. The next session will be going on the using of OKRs, so much more about the practical parts of what you're doing in OKRs. I will see you shortly. Thanks very much. If you found this presentation interesting and you'd like to see more, there is more. I have on my website all of the video trainings in one easy to access form. Under the video training, you can go to my website. It looks a bit like this, richardrussell.co/OKRs. You'll also find with the video training, when you sign up for that, there's access to PDF guides on how to use this, like cheat sheets almost. We go through a full OKR cycle, a walkthrough of what you need to do when, including some tips on how to set OKRs. There's an email newsletter which will keep you up to date with all the latest content, and including some interviews that I'll be doing with people. And you'll get access to discounted live workshops that will come through the email mailing list. So go to my website and you can get that for free, whoever you are. Now, if you're wanting a bit more, I also do OKR coaching and workshops. So I do these for organizations like whole companies or divisions or large teams, for teams and for individual leaders. But we can do this whether you're already using OKRs or whether you want to start using OKRs, whether the rest of your organization is using OKRs and you want to get started, or whether you're just fresh and you'd like to learn more. The things that I do custom training, customized for the organization. I do OKR setting workshops where we set OKRs with you and your team. We do OKR retrospectives, which are super useful for anyone who's already using OKRs and wants to find ways to make them better. And I do direct coaching. I do coaching of leaders. Fundamentally, to me, OKRs are really about leadership, and so that's really fits really well together. So if you're one of these and you'd like to talk about having some work done in your organization, your team, or as an individual leader, please get in contact, richardrussell.co/OKRs. Now, if you're a larger organization and you'd like to do a full OKR implementation, I do OKRs implementation and consulting. I use a method that I call FAST, the OKR FAST. The idea is that there's minimal theory. So we don't have a lot more theory than what we've already had here, but we just do have fun, engaging, relevant workshops that are hands-on, all about your business. It's not about some case study or anything like that. It's about your business. And if necessary, we can set up a custom change program with reusable videos so that we're training on the way that OKRs work in your organization, not some sort of generic way of doing things. We can do train the trainers. Whatever we need to do, we'll do it focused on your goals, because I take the OKR engagements that I do very much like what I recommend my clients do, is focus on the outcome you're trying to get and then figure out what to do. So please get in contact with me, richardrussell.co/OKRs. You'll find me on LinkedIn as well. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks very much.